Hey, yo, it's your boy Bess, and I am back, okay, with episode 20 of the Straight to the Point podcast. Y'all, Super Wildcard weekend was a great weekend full of good games, but I'm going to talk about two games today, okay? Unfortunately, I got to talk about the Cowboys and the Bucks, and I'm going to talk about the Chargers and the Jaguars. But first and foremost, I'm going to do my best five plays for Super Wild Card Weekend. I think y'all deserve that. I've been gone for a minute. Haven't done best five plays in a while. I've missed a lot of weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up with that. Okay, the first play we got in the best five play. Of course, we got the honorable mention. It got to be Julio Jones. Okay, this grab in the game. Of course, it wasn't much of a game, but this grab to me it sparked life in the Bucks. I thought the Bucks was actually going to make a comeback after this play because you can never count out Brady. But it's a great grab by Julio. Give us flashes of old Julio. Great ball by Brady. So that's number 6 on the best five plays, the honorable mention. Okay, so number 5 on the best five plays of Wild Card Weekend, I gotta go with Saquon Barkley. Y'all look, Saquon Barkley is a big chunk of the reason why they beat the Vikings this past weekend. He had 100 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns, but on this specific run, look at the vision. Look at how he bounced inside a little bit just to bounce right back outside. Okay, Saquon Barkley is a stud. Okay, I used to say Zeke was better than him back in the day, but I gotta say Saquon is better than him, especially right now. Okay, so great job, Saquon Barkley. Number 4 on the list, I gotta go with Dawson Knox. Okay, the one-handed grab for the 6-yard touchdown. Look, the Bengals are in trouble. Okay, the Bills have playmakers: Dawson Knox, Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis that make plays like this week in and week out. Right, we saw the Bengals struggle against the Baltimore Ravens, who don't really have any playmakers out there, but the Bills are full of them. Cause number 3 on the best five plays gotta go to Khalil Shakir, another Bills receiver who made a great grab on for 31 yards. Put his body on the line, reached out, grabbed the ball, saved his quarterback from throwing another interception. All right, but he went out there and made a play. Both of these two Bills players made plays for Josh Allen, and that is going to be what they need if they want to continue this Super Bowl run. All right, number 2 on the best five plays gotta go to Deebo Samuel. This is the Deebo Samuel I've been missing this year. I haven't seen a lot of it. We seen it in chunks. We seen it in little spurts. But this is the Deebo Samuel that I want to see for the 49ers. That playmaker that makes Brock Purdy's job so easy. Just give him the ball. He's going to score a 74-yard touchdown just with pure speed on this play, right? He didn't even have to break any tackles. He didn't have to do anything special. He outran the defense. So great job by Deebo Samuel, one of the best playmakers in the league. And then number 1 on the list, this is by circumstance, right? And this is the effect of this play. This play literally won the game. The game was 17-17 at this moment, but when Sam Hubbard recovered his fumble and ran it back 98 yards, he literally won the game for the team. So this got to be number 1 on the best five plays of the Super Wild Card weekend, because this play literally won the game. So great job, Sam Hubbard, being alert, picking the ball up with the scoop and score for the win. So those are your best five plays for the Super Wild Card weekend. So just to recap what happened this past weekend, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all the score. So the 49ers did beat the Seahawks 41-23. The Jags beat the Chargers 31-30. Bills beat the Dolphins 34-31. Bengals beat the Ravens 24-17. And the Cowboys beat the Bucks 31-14. Got to be the shocker of the week. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it, man. Let's go ahead and get this out the way and talk about the Dallas Cowboys. So going into this week, I said, and I even said it on my Instagram, on the reel, I said that the Bucks are going to win this game because of Tom Brady. And I'll just go ahead and take a trip down memory lane. Okay, this year people was constantly getting on me about talking about the Bucks going to the playoffs. They said the Bucks are not going to the playoffs. They look bad. They look bad. Yes, the Bucks look bad this year. They did, without a doubt. This is not the same Bucks from a couple years ago, right? Brady took a step back this year. That defense was not the same. They had no run game. Okay, this year the Bucks were last in rushing yards in the whole league. They was last in rushing yards. They was also last in yards per carry. They only scored 20 or more points in 7 games. In 7 games this year, they scored 20 or more points. And some of those games was like 20 or 21 points, so barely 20 points. This team couldn't score, right? The defense, Shaquille Barrett got hurt. They couldn't rush the passer. It was a bad team all around, okay? But I said, when they get in the playoffs, Tom Brady will turn up as usual, okay? They just got to get there, which I believe they would, and they did. It was in a bad division, and one division they got there, and I figured they would get dangerous once they get to the playoffs. But Monday confirmed that you just can't flip a switch like that. You just can't. If you're playing bad all year, hey, you're just going to be playing bad all year. As simple as that. I can't emphasize how important it is to play good in the season and to get hot going into the playoffs versus barely getting there and then trying to flip the switch, which obviously you can't do because we just saw it. Okay, and also I forgot to tell y'all the Bucks this year only scored a touchdown 32 times. Okay, that's 26th in the league, and they're in front of the teams they're in front of. So the 5 teams behind them are teams that's not in the playoffs. So this team was not good, but I just thought that Tom Brady will be able to turn up and turn his team around. And not only that, but I thought that the Cowboys would do Cowboys things, right? Crumble whenever all eyes are on them. This was the most watched Monday Night Football game in history, I believe. And because Dak Prescott, your quarterback, I said, you know what? This team's gonna crumble and fold in front of America, in front of millions of people, because that's what the Cowboys normally do. This is why I picked the Bucks. I never said the Bucks had a better team than the Cowboys. Let's just put that out there. The Cowboys definitely had the better team, and it showed. It showed the best team won on Monday Night Football. But that's not even what I'm surprised about. What I'm surprised about is Dak Prescott. Okay, so before I even get into Dak, let's talk about Tom Brady. He went 35 and 66, 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. These are all garbage time yards because the game was out of reach. Now, when they did score that, when it was down 24-0, and they scored that touchdown to Julio Jones, the whole night I kept telling my friends, I was watching the game, I kept saying, look, be patient, just wait, they will come back. I was so confident that they was going to win that game, even when they was down 24-0, because I just knew the Cowboys would crumble, and I just knew Brady would show that all-time greatness right on the biggest stage. But it did not happen. All right, Rashad White and Leonard Fournette, the 2 running backs for the Bucks, combined for 12 carries, 52 yards, and 4.3 yards per carry. Now, the game did get out of reach, and when the game gets out of reach like that, you tend to throw the ball a lot more than you run it, right? But it didn't matter. When they was running the ball, they couldn't go anywhere. This is just, like I said earlier, this is the worst running offense in the league, and that hurts Tom Brady a lot because it doesn't give a team a threat, right? When I am about to call a play, the team is automatically saying, okay, they're going to throw the ball because they just can't run, right? So it's not helping me throw the ball whenever you're going to assume I'm throwing the ball, right? If you have that balanced attack, if you can run the ball too, then guess what? Teams are going to be able to say, okay, we got to respect the run, so then the pass can be open. But when teams are just drop back saying, look, go ahead and run the ball, you're not getting nowhere anyways, it's going to hurt the team. So the running backs did nothing, okay? So let's go ahead and get into Dak Prescott. Now, I've been very critical of Dak Prescott this whole entire year because Dak Prescott, to me, is not a good quarterback. Simple as that. He's not even he's definitely not top 10. He might be top 15 by default because we have a lot of quarterbacks that have question marks on top of their heads, or a lot of quarterbacks that we haven't seen enough from them. But Dak Prescott is in that area to me because Dak Prescott is just not that guy. He's not when I think of franchise quarterbacks, I think about Mahomes. I think about Josh Allen. I think about now, from this year, because of consistency, Jalen Hurts. I look at Joe Burrow, right? I look at Brady over the past couple of years. You look at Aaron Rodgers, even still, I believe, is a franchise quarterback. Those are the quarterbacks that I think of when I think of franchise quarterbacks. Now, Dak Prescott qualifies for a franchise quarterback because he's been with the team for, 7 years? So that's why he qualifies for 6-7 years, whatever it is. He qualifies for it because he's been there that long. So he qualified for a franchise quarterback. But when it comes to talent, he is not a franchise quarterback. Going back to last week, they played the Commanders in the last game of the season, and Dak went 14 for 37. Okay, 14 for 37, 128 yards and a touchdown, and then 1 interception, of course. His QBR was 45.8. Okay, that's basically what QBR is. I think I said it before in the show. I said a QBR is they're just grading the quarterback, your overall play, the quarterback rating. How did this quarterback do? They gave him a 45.8. So basically on a scale of 0 to 100, they give him a 45.8. That is terrible. That is god awful, especially for somebody that is supposed to be the guy, a franchise quarterback, elite, what people think he is. Okay, so going into this week, going into this playoff game, I'm sorry, I said, okay, come off a bad game, which is not nothing new, right? We know Dak Prescott. And you're going against Tom Brady on a big stage. I'm like, there's no way he's going to have a good game. I just have no trust in Dak Prescott. That's why I picked the Bucks. Dak Prescott came out, went 25 for 33, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns and rushing touchdowns. QBR was 143.3. That means it went over 100. He played, this was the best game of his career. Hands down, no questions asked. I've never seen nothing like this from Dak Prescott ever in my life. And then Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott, 28 carries, 104 yards, 4 yards per carry. And then Dalton Schultz, who he's most comfortable with. People think CD is the number one in Dallas. I really think Dalton Schultz is the number one in Dallas. It's like Travis Kelce's number one in Kansas City. Because I think he's just more comfortable with Dalton Schultz. A tight end can be a number one. I think quarterbacks love tight ends and slots more than anything because not only are they easier passes, they're closer to the ball, but a tight end is a big target, right? I can throw it high, they're tall enough to get it, right? I can throw it into tight spaces because they're big enough to create that space and to catch the ball and not drop it, catch that ball and be able to take punishment. So Dak Prescott, guys, he had a great game, a perfect game. Like I'm really literally tipping my hat to Dak Prescott for the first time I've ever done that ever. Like even before I was doing the podcast, I've never tipped my hat to Dak Prescott, but I have to do it. Like I'm a realist. I'm going to let you know when he has a good game. This wasn't even good. This was a perfect game for Dak Prescott. He is the reason why they won this game. Like the defense couldn't get a stop. Now the Bucks don't have a pass rusher because Shaquille Barrett got hurt. Right, Vita Vea is more of a run stuffer. He's not really a pass rusher, right? So they have nobody to attack the quarterback, right? So it was a little easier for him, but he made the necessary throws. He made the necessary plays. This game, right? He played like this. Let's say 8-9 games out the season, he will be a top 5, top 10 quarterback, no doubt. But he doesn't. Okay, Dak Prescott this year has thrown an interception in every single game, but 3 games, including this past weekend. So before this, he's only played 2 games where he never threw a pick. Like that is bad. He almost leads the interception and He almost lead the league in interceptions. I'm sorry, and he missed like 5-6 weeks. Okay, so Dak Prescott has put together a body of work, right? A years of work to show that he's not that guy. But one game, he came out and showed that guy ability in a game. So in that game, if Dak Prescott played one game in his career and it was this past weekend, I would say he's that guy, no doubt. But he hasn't. He does not do this on, I'm not gonna say consistent basis because nobody does that on a consistent basis, but he doesn't do this enough for me to say that he's that guy. He doesn't do this enough for me to trust him to go into San Francisco next week and win this game. Now, if he go to San Francisco next week and plays like this, or even plays close to this and wins the game, oh yeah, hats off to you. I will come up here and I will say, you know what, Dak is trending towards, or I even say he's a top 10 quarterback if he can do that. But he won't because I just don't see it happening. And then when you go against San Francisco next week, you're going to be faced with a pass rush. There's going to be guys coming at you every single play. It's not going to be no sit back and just pick apart the defense. Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, those guys are coming. Okay, so you're going to be faced with a higher degree of difficulty. So let's see what he does. Let's see if he crumbles and folds, or let's see if he steps up to the plate and he makes plays like he did in this game. Okay, once again, there was no pass rush. And not only do I judge quarterbacks off of consistency, but how do you play against certain teams, right? The Bucks, they was depleted. I picked them to win, no doubt. I picked them to win, but I didn't expect this to happen. If Dak didn't play like this, the game would have been a lot closer. But he played out of his mind, so the game was just a blowout from the jump. Okay, so I think next week he's playing against the best defense in the league, in my opinion. Okay, one of the best defensive play callers in the league, and D'Amico Ryan. Let's see how he plays then. I guarantee you, he gonna wet the bed. I promise you, he is going to wet the bed. Dak Prescott, this is what Cowboys fans about to do. This was about to make you mad. So going into this playoffs, I kept asking the Cowboy fans that I know. I said, man, how do you plan on going to the Super Bowl with Dak Prescott as your quarterback? They said, we're not gonna win because of Dak. We're gonna win because of the defense. So then this past weekend, Dak came and played like he just played, and now they blowing up group chats talking about some. That's my quarterback. That's my guy. Please do not expect Dallas Cowboy Nation. Please do not expect this to happen again next weekend. I'm telling you, you're gonna be very disappointed. You're going to be Very disappointed. He's not going to play like this again. Okay, this happened against a bad team. Let's just be real. It was 8-9. They only got to the playoffs because they won their division. That was literally the definition of I got in the playoffs because my division is bad. That's what it was, because you got in the playoffs, played a team that, I'm not gonna say a great team. You played a good Dallas Cowboys roster wise, right? Not necessarily what you put on the field, but roster wise, you played a pretty good team, and you got your brains beat in, right? You got cream on national television, because that's what happens when bad teams play pretty good teams. But this coming weekend, Cowboy fans, enjoy it for the next what, 5 days, 4 days. Because I'm trying to tell you, it's all going to come crumbling down in San Francisco, because this ain't no walk in the park. This ain't no, we're going to go out there, sit back, and throw the ball 33 times and not get touched. I think Dak got sacked one time. So, only get sacked one time. That's not going to happen. He's going to get pressure in his face constantly. And we got to see how he plays. I'm telling you, I'm picking the 49ers off rip. I'm just picking the 49ers, period, point blank, because the 49ers are the best team in football. They have the best defense in football. Dak Prescott's going to crumble. And he's going to come back down to reality where we all know him at, right? We know him as the average quarterback. I know him as the average quarterback. People are going to put him on this high pedestal because of his past game on Monday night. But he's still very, very average. And y'all going to see it because he about to get a reality check come this weekend. But I would give my hats, Cowboys, congratulations. Y'all won a game. And now y'all coming back talking about some playoff, Super Bowl. When y'all know goodness well y'all ain't going past the 49ers. Okay, that is a game I cannot wait to see, because it's going to shut down Cowboy Nation. Now, the other game I want to talk about was the Jaguars and the Chargers. Okay. I'm sorry. With the Bucks. Go back to the Bucks. Back to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, it's been rumors that they're going to fire Byron Leftwich, okay? The offensive coordinator. I highly disagree. Byron Leftwich has been there when they won a Super Bowl. He was there last year when they barely lost to the Rams in the playoffs. But now they have one bad game against the Cowboys. Right? They had a bad year, but they didn't have an O-line. They didn't, and that leads to them not being able to run the ball. Right? You have an aging quarterback in Tom Brady, but they're going to fire Byron Leftwich, though. Todd Bowles needs to be demoted. Not fired, but demoted. He needs to be a defensive coordinator. I've heard this all my life. Some coaches are not meant to be head coaches. Some coaches are just defensive coordinators. Todd Bowles, this whole year the Bucs was a mess. And if I had to point the finger at two people, it would be him and Brady, because Brady had a bad year. But then again, Bruce Arians was the head coach last year. So now you step in as head coach and this team takes such a big step back. I got to point the finger at the change. And the change was, you used to be a defensive coordinator for the team. Now you're the head coach. Don't fire Todd Bowles. Don't fire Byron Leftwich. Keep Byron Leftwich where he is. Because Byron Leftwich, last time I checked, last year, he was one of the candidates for the Jacksonville Jaguars head coaching job before Doug Peterson took it. All right, so Byron Leftwich is qualified for this job. He's a good OC. Keep him. Todd Bowles, just demote him to DC. Don't fire him. Just demote him. I think he is the definition of I do my best job when I'm literally just focused on the defense versus being focused on the whole team, because the whole team just wasn't there this year, and a lot of that blame has to be pointed at Todd Bowles. So go ahead and just demote him back to defensive coordinator. Right? Because when he was defensive coordinator, defense was like top 5 in the league both years, last year and the year before last. But when he came head coach, everything kind of went downhill, because I think he's more of a, let me just keep my eyes on the prize versus I got to worry about this and worry about the offense and worry about special teams. He's just a strictly defensive guy. So Todd Bowles should keep his job. Byron Leftwich should keep his job. And they'll be just fine. Brady might leave, but I'm not going to get into any of that until after the playoffs, because right now I'm strictly focused on the teams that are still remaining. The Jags and the Chargers. This is a game I want to talk about, because this was just strictly like Brandon Staley should have lost his job this game. Like, it's the difference between Todd Bowles losing that game against the Cowboys and Brandon Staley losing this game. Because Todd Bowles had the worst team, right? He shouldn't have got beat like that, but he had the worst team. Brandon Staley had the better team. The Chargers are a better team than Jacksonville, in my opinion. They have more weapons. They have more stars on that team than Jacksonville does. And they was up 27-7 at one point. 27-0 at one point, right? and they still choked this game away. So before I talk about that part of the game, Trevor Lawrence, man, is up and coming. Trevor Lawrence will be a top 5 quarterback in, I give it 2 years. In 2 years, Trevor Lawrence will be a top 5 quarterback. Now this Jacksonville Jaguars team, when I made my pyramid at first, I said, look, this team has a bright future. They're not ready to win yet. Not yet. But Trevor Lawrence exceeded expectations. Guys, they had the first pick in the draft last year. People forget that. They drafted Trayvon Walker with the first pick overall, and now they're in the playoffs and they won the playoff game. Like, people talk about Brian Dable should be the head coach for the Giants. He should be coach of the year. I think Doug Peterson should be coach of the year. Doug Peterson took the worst team in the league, and they're now in the divisional round of playoffs. Think about that. Like, think about it. Like, they was at the bottom of the league. 32 teams, they was 32nd last year. Won only 4 games, right? But now they're in the divisional round about to play the Chiefs. And Trevor Lawrence, compared to last year, took a huge jump this year. And I think it had a lot to do with Doug Peterson. Now, I've even told one of my friends last year, I said this team should hire Doug Peterson. I think Doug Peterson got fired from Philadelphia for no reason. So they should hire Doug Peterson, who's a QB whisperer. Let him come and develop Trevor Lawrence. They did that, and then I said give him 2 years. Give him this year. Next year, they should be good, at least in playoff contention, right? This year, I was thinking about like a 7-10 kind of season, maybe a 6-9, 6-11 kind of season. But next year, I was expecting them to get into the playoffs. But they did it early, right? They peaked early, and so I wasn't wrong about them, right? I wasn't wrong. I just didn't get my timing right. 'Cause I didn't think they would be good this fast. So Trevor Lawrence went 28 for 47, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns. He also had 4 interceptions, though. We'll talk about that in a second. Travis Etienne, 20 carries, 109 yards. He is becoming that guy in the backfield for Jacksonville. And for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 25 of 43, 273 yards and a touchdown. Austin Eckler, 13 carries, 35 yards, 2 touchdowns. In total, the Chargers had 20 carries, 55 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Remember that. Okay, Gerald Everett and Keenan Allen, who went crazy that day, 12 catches, 170 yards, 1 touchdown combined. Those two combined for those numbers. Trevor Lawrence in the first half of this game played terrible. Like, he played like, I remember I called my little brother and I said, look, this is the definition of the lights are too bright right now for the moment. I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence will never be able to play in the playoffs. What I was saying was it's too early. I told y'all they'll be good in 2 years, not this year. I don't think they're ready for the playoffs this year. So that first half was like Trevor Lawrence was just the moment was too big. Next year, I thought he would be able to perform a lot better. But in this game, I was like, man, especially in the first half, I said it's not his time yet. They're not ready yet. They'll be back next year, but they're not ready yet. That was momentarily. That was in the first half. That's the thought that was going through my head. Trevor Lawrence threw an interception, right? Chargers scored. Threw another interception. Chargers get a field goal. Another interception. Chargers throw a touchdown. Another interception. Chargers kick a field goal. The Chargers scored 20 points off turnovers in the first half, which led them to go up 27-0. So if they're down 27-0, I'm like, okay, this game is over. There's no way they can come back to this game. Trevor Lawrence drove down the field, put up a touchdown. It's 27-7 at halftime. Okay, Trevor Lawrence, that's a little momentum going back into halftime. But even the coach, Doug Peterson, at halftime was like, look, we just got to chip away at the league, right? I don't think he had that much confidence that they would come back and win the game, but they said we just got to chip away at it, right? And I was like, okay, cool. Y'all got the mindset y'all might be able to come back and win this game, but come on now, let's be real. 27-0. Justin Herbert's on the other side of the field. You're not winning this game. This second half of this game, Brandon Staley lost his job. Lost it. He should have lost it. They fired Joe Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, and I think they fired the quarterback coach as well, but they kept Brandon Staley. No. Brandon Staley, you got to go too, because last year you had a great team, great roster, missed the playoffs. This year you had a good team, good roster, made the playoffs, lost in the first round. It would be different. You lost by a field goal. If it was like tight the whole game, you was up by 27 points. You was up by 20 in the second half. And this is what happened. Let me tell you why they lost this game. When the Chargers was up 27-7 at halftime, they only ran the ball 7 times in the second half. 7 times. Now let's just break it down. Let me just dumb it down a little bit for y'all. If you're playing Madden, right? You playing Madden with your friends, you chilling. when you playing against somebody and you up 27-7, you're not gonna just run the ball out, right? You're gonna try and keep scoring, keep doing your thing, right? When you're in an NFL game in real life or any game for that matter, and you want to win a game, you're gonna play chess, not checkers. The chess way is for you to just run the ball, keep running the ball, eat the clock away. Because what does Jacksonville need more than anything in the second half? They need time. I need time to score 20 points to get back into this game. I need time to get down the field. I need time. The best thing you can do in this situation is eat the clock up. That's all you can do. We're not trying to score anymore. We've already made our 20-point lead. 20-point lead, all we got to do is run the ball. They only ran the ball 7 times. And I don't care if it wasn't working. Keep running the ball. And I'll even be childish. If I was a head coach, I would let that play clock run down to like 5 every single time. 5 or 3 every single time. And then I'll run the ball. And then let the play clock run down again. Every possession I had the ball, I would at least take 5 minutes off. At least. But when you run the ball 7 times, that means you're throwing the ball too much. That means you're throwing incompletions. That means you're throwing the ball and receivers going out of bounds. You're not wasting clock like you should be. Okay, and the time of possession was only 32 minutes and 39 seconds for the Chargers to 27 minutes 21 seconds. That's too close. That's only 5 minutes off. I would have blew them out in time for possession. In the second half, 30 minutes in the second half, I would have had the ball at least 20 of those minutes because I would have been just running the ball. Okay, get creative with it. You don't got to just run the ball up the middle every time. Run a pitch, run a stretch, do anything to just eat that clock away, and they didn't. The Jaguars had 5 turnovers this game. If you blindfolded me and said, look, this team has 5 turnovers, and they're down by 20 at halftime, who's going to win? Obviously the other team, right? But they didn't because you didn't play smart football. You didn't play situational football. I understand you got Justin Herbert. I got it, okay? Let Justin Herbert rest for the second half, for next week. We don't need him throwing the ball this many times. We don't need him. I should have got how many times he threw the ball, but I know for a fact they ran the ball 7 times in the second half. I don't care if I got a top 5 talent at quarterback. We're going to run this clock out. We're going to get out of Jacksonville, go back to LA, and get ready to play next week against the Chiefs. Simple as that. Brandon Staley lost his game, but he kept his job. I'm not understanding. Brandon Staley should be fired. Like fired. If they would have lost by a field goal and the game was close the whole game, or if it was just a good game in general, okay, cool. You keep your job. But when you blow a 20-point lead, your defense get 5 turnovers, and you run the ball 7 times in the second half, you got to go. And Brandon Staley's a defensive-minded coach. He runs the defense. So you fire the OC, but the head coach's job is to call timeouts, to time manage, right, to challenge plays, right? That's your job in the game. Even if you just run the defense. Even if you run the defense, like Mike Tomlin runs the defense, we still expect you to time manage. Make the right play calls for challenges, right? Call the right timeouts. We expect that out of a head coach, and he did none of that. So I think he should not have a job going into next year. Another team can hire him, cool, but he should not be here anymore. But hey, I'm not the owner, okay? Y'all don't listen to me. I'm just somebody doing a little podcast on YouTube, not getting paid, nothing like that. Just up here doing this for my free time. So I don't know nothing, all right? But look, that is it for today. Okay, I kept it under the 30-minute mark. On Friday, I will be doing my next episode, and my next episode is going to be strictly for this coming week. So I'm going to be previewing games. I didn't really talk about the Ravens game and the 49ers game and the Bills game too much. I didn't talk about it at all, honestly. But I will be previewing their games for this upcoming weekend, for divisional round weekend, all right? So, y'all, I am out. It is good to be back, okay? I've been gone for a while. Went to Christmas break, went back home with the fam, and just really didn't feel like doing it there, Now I'm back in my natural habitat, my environment, so I feel like getting up here and doing it, but it wasn't the same back at home, all right? But I'm out. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay blessed, and I will see y'all on Friday. I'm going.